I'm going to be speaking about the 10 hallmarks of the Rule of St. Benedict. And these are not listed in the Rule of St. Benedict, but they're taken from the rule, various different teachings that he has given, and they were compiled as a very basic roadmap for the students of St. Vincent and for the Benedictine colleges and universities of how to incorporate the important values into their lives. And they're posted right in our Carey Center lounge so that every student who comes through is reminded daily of these 10 hallmarks, and they become more and more a part of their life. In addition to this, whenever a student begins their time at St. Vincent, they're given a card with the 10 hallmarks in. And they're given that card every year when they move on campus with a little description of each one as a way of helping that student incorporate them. The first hallmark is love of Christ and neighbor. Love is the heart of monastic life. The life of a monastic, like that of all Christians, is first and foremost a response to God's astonishing love for all. A love expressed in the free gift of his beloved Son, Jesus Christ. Benedict uses Jesus' own words, which come from the heart of the Hebrew Scriptures, to urge monks to ground their lives in a wholehearted response to that love and to share it freely with others. We are serious about being grounded at love. At St. Vincent, there should be no place for rivalries, no tolerance for actions that harm or diminish another, no scope of personal development at the expense of others. Even in the darkest times, members of the campus community should be able to seek reconciliation and draw on the help of others to deal with seemingly insurmountable problems. The second value, our hallmark, is prayer. A life marked by lectio, liturgy, and attentiveness to God. Benedictine monasteries cultivate attentiveness to the multiple ways in which God is present. The primary way for doing this is through the daily rhythm of a monastery's liturgical prayer. Benedict calls this the work of God and directs that nothing is to be preferred to it. At St. Vincent Monastery, the monks gather for prayer 4 times each day, as well as for Mass. Each monk is also to spend time in personal and individual reading of the Scriptures and prayer, and the Latin term for this is Lectio Divina. The prayer life of the monastic community spills over onto campus life. Members of the campus community are welcome to join the monks for prayer in the basilica. There are the scheduled times in campus for prayer, as well as opportunities for various devotions and quiet time. And that quiet prayer can take place in the student chapel that is open 24/7, the basilica, which is open every day, in one's dorm room, as well as walking the fitness trail and the various nature trails on campus. Retreats and the availability of spiritual directors are also a part of our life of prayer. St. Benedict calls us to live life permeated with prayer. The third hallmark is stability, commitment to the daily life of this place. Stability shapes a Benedictine monastery. All of its members make a vow to commit themselves to seeking God together. They resolve to pursue this, their heart's deepest desire, in daily interactions with one another, in good times and in bad, throughout the entire span of their lives. For students, faculty, and staff, stability comes from the experience on campus and the knowledge that we are always here for them. Regardless of how long ago someone left campus, this is always a home that welcomes them. Stability is also found in the friendships that begin here. These are the lifelong relationships that stable friendships provide for the students, for the alumni, the faculty, the staff, regardless of the changes that take place in one's own personal situation. Stability at St. Vincent can best be summed up with the commonly used phrase, once a bearcat, always a bear cat. The fourth hallmark is conversatio, the way of formation and transformation. The aim of life is the same for Benedictines as it is for all Christians, to be transformed in every part of one's life so that God's own image in which each is created becomes more apparent and lived. St. Benedict's term for this is conversatio. It recognizes that none of us are perfect and calls us to spend our lives in the process of conversation so as to grow more and more like Christ. Members of the college community live conversatio by being open to the challenge to grow in faith in how it is lived here. This can be in our studies, in teaching and working. In all these areas, we are challenged to move away from our comfort zones in ways that will help us to grow in intellect, professionalism, and proficiency of skills. The fifth hallmark is obedience, a commitment to listening and consequent action. Benedictine life is unthinkable without obedience. It is another of the vows that each monk makes. Obedience is a value that cuts against the grain of much in contemporary life. It is often forgotten that the root word for obedience is to listen. Almost everyone on campus knows that the first word of the rule of Benedict is listen. For the monk, obedience is putting into practice what is learned by listening to the other, as Benedict wrote, with the ear of the heart. Teaching and learning are impossible without obedience, without listening to the other, with the awareness that no one possesses all the truth. To know everyone is worth knowing. At St. Vincent, we challenge one another to learn to listen well in order to grow in wisdom. Obedience grows out of an atmosphere of attentive listening and respect and conversatio. The sixth hallmark is discipline, a way toward learning and freedom. Discipline is a way of focusing energy and attention on what matters. Benedictine life is built around a fundamental discipline of prayer, work, and relationships that is set forth in the rule and that seeks to free a monastic to take delight in God's presence within the self, the community, and the world. New members are taught how to cultivate the discipline of monastic life and to realize that it takes a lifetime of practice to develop fully the skills needed to engage the passion and direct the care of a person's life. No learning takes place without discipline. Students must sacrifice short-term benefits for long-term goals. Maturity and autonomy involve moving from a discipline imposed from the outside to a self-discipline in which a person sets his or her own goals and determines how to achieve them. In pursuing academic excellence, the faculty and staff seek to teach and model the skills for cultivating discipline. In this sense, all members of the educational community strive to be zealous for continually growing in the skills and dispositions to know, love, and to live the truth. The seventh hallmark, humility. Acceptance of the demand for realism and accountability. Humility is Benedict's word for wisdom. He begins his extended description of the 12 steps of humility with awe at the abiding presence of God and ends with the love that casts out fear. Benedictine humility accepts the reality of the day-to-day world and our true place within it. This practical realism demands honesty and accountability of everyone in a Benedictine house. Each monk seeks to acknowledge his or her faults and weaknesses. Each strives to recognize their own gifts and the gifts of others with gratitude, seeking to contribute as much as possible to the good of the whole and accepting the care of others. At St. Vincent, we know that none of us can learn on our own what we most need to know or bring to completion what we most needs to be done. It is our hope that individuals discover what they are good at doing and what they need others' help to achieve. Rather than fostering competition for status and eminence, we strive to engage the insights and expertise of a wide variety of persons in our collective purpose. Our eighth hallmark is stewardship, respect for the beauty and goodness of God's creation. At its core, the rule seeks to foster a fundamental reverence toward the creation that God has made. Benedict exhorts his followers to regard all the tools and goods of the monastery as the sacred vessels of the altar. Benedictine monastics value good stewardship, the wise and moderate use of material things for the good of all, both present and future. This appreciation of the good use of material things leads to a cultivation of beauty as modes of experiencing the presence of God. At St. Vincent, we seek to foster awareness that we are part of a larger ecology and that the environment has been given by God for the sake of all. We seek to understand the essential interdependence of human community and the natural environment. And this can be seen through the campus proper and in the value we place on our wetlands, the Winnie Palmer Nature Preserve, the various trails around campus. For the sake of the future generations, we seek to be good stewards of the memory and practice of human creativity and generosity. And our ninth hallmark is hospitality, a call to openness. The practice of listening and humility in a Benedictine monastery enables a generous hospitality to friends and strangers. Benedict says of the guest, Christ is found especially in them. Every attempt is to be made to extend a gracious and respectful welcome to these persons as the sisters and brothers they truly are. At St. Vincent, we strive to cultivate skills for openly and wisely engaging new ideas and perspectives. We strive to foster multicultural awareness and respectful communication between all members of the St. Vincent community. We hope to be a community that recognizes the gifts and talents possessed by all who enter into our family. New faculty, staff, and students should be so welcomed by the campus community that they can in turn become eager to welcome others. And the final hallmark is community. Call for service to the common good and respect for the individual. Benedictine monastic community is rooted in a particular place in which a mutual service, especially in the mundane areas of everyday life, is demanded of everyone with no other reward than the building up of the community. We work at bringing this community to the campus. It is our hope to make available to all a focus on the nature of responsible living, a focus that is enriched by the example of others here and grounded in the wisdom of our proud past, always looking forward to the promising future. We attempt to provide students with an experience of community, deepened by curricular and co-curricular programs to help them make the connection between the individual and the communal, the local and the global, the present and the past. And so I encourage you to take time to study the Benedictine hallmarks and look at ways that you can incorporate them more into your life and also become more aware of how you see these hallmarks present in the lives of those around us on campus.